Hey guys, Dov here, back with another spicy take on a unit. Today we're talking about Scourgerunner chariots, and I'm calling them overrated. Now, before you all read in the comments, I already hear the clickety-clack of those clanky keyboards. Yeah, just because I say a unit's overrated doesn't mean it's bad, certainly. The units, to become overrated in the first place, have to be kind of good at some point on some level, right? Maybe even overpowered to a degree. And Scourgerunner chariots, like Gisele's, could have maybe had that moniker at one point, and certainly are still very powerful, but an over-reliance on them can lead to some issues, right? Here we've got a replay Dark Elves versus Norsca, obviously, submitted by the Norscan player. You can see the Scourgerunner chariots already firing in. Right now, they had been shooting at the Skin Wolves, hadn't taken down any unit models though, so that damage will regenerate. And here, they're left on fire at will, which they will use their ammunition. They're going to shoot at some good targets here, like this Smear is actually a pretty decent target right there. Looks like some targeted fire. The Skin Wolves are decent enough targets, but they'll be able to regenerate a lot of that damage. You can see the Norscan player kind of keeping his Skin Wolves close enough to protect his infantry should the chariots charge, but also kind of at the max edge of the range here of the chariots so that they can pull out, regenerate, pull back in if they need to. For the rest of the build here, a bunch of Marauder Horsemen, got some Berserkers, regular Marauders, a nice box of Sad Swords and Fierce Spears, Knights of the Ebon Claw, Morathi leading the way, plus a Bloodrack Shrine, and of course the 4 Scourgerunners. But you can see the Scourgerunners have already used up quite a bit of their ammunition, and granted, leaving them on fire at will at least ensures that they will use their ammunition, so that you don't forget to use it, which I definitely never ever, totally never have done ever, not once. So that's good. They are generating value, and even just shooting like these Berserkers is okay. Now they get a decent charge in here. They've got good stats overall. 80 armor is pretty nice for a chariot in this class. You know, decent charge, of course, 40 charge, 40 weapon damage, okay-ish melee stats, quite a bit of HP per model, actually. But here, Knights of the Ebon Claw also charge in. They're going to overwhelm very much that Skin Wolf, but Wulfric is still so healthy at this point. He's taken almost no damage, and Morathi is, with Hunter of Champions, the Balefiend, plus Wulfric actually doing really nice, and now the Skin Wolves come in having regenerated the damage they took. The infantry, like, yeah, it got kind of massacred a little bit for Norsca, for the most part, other than, like, these Berserkers here, a handful of tattered units, but, like, Horsemasters, actually, because of their armor, if he were to have saved his ammo, and with this build, just kind of tried to kite, and then once the Norscans are engaged, then use the ammo on Wulfric, right? Like, the Horsemasters have enough armor and decent enough melee stats, they're also fast enough. They could maybe chase the Scourgerunners here. They're actually getting chased by the Scourgerunners, which is fine. They're going to take a charge there, and they'll probably lose that engagement as a result. But in a sustained combat, especially with all 3 of the 2 Horsemasters and the regular horsemen chasing, with the Beasts of Tashnar as well, and these other doggos, like, they would be able to, at the very least, screen out the Scourgerunner chariots and maybe even catch them and take them out. And as a result, Wulfric still would have basically run shop over this entire infantry line. Morathi's been able to regenerate quite a bit of her HP, but she is running scared from Wulfric, though. And the doggos as well charging in here, now that the chariots have returned from their journey. They still have a handful of ammunition, of shots left of ammunition. And yeah, the Scourgerunners using it up there. The Bloodrack Shrine here, the Scream Tank also has a little bit of ammunition left, but doesn't really have the range or the ability to set up and fire. So I think it will still fire in melee. A nice boat there right across the Hellebronis. And they are basically done. I say done. It's actually a really nice power spike as Murderous Prowess comes online here. The Dark Elves are making a push, but again, Morathi gets caught out here and surrounded. Her animations kind of leap her forward into this blob, and she is gone. Just getting absolutely circle beaten by wolves and dogs and the Balefiend. Man, no, she's still fighting. Wow, she's somehow still alive. Of course, as soon as I say that, she's probably going to get killed. Ooh. Oh, she gets eaten by the Beast of Tashnar. Okay, eaten by a dog. That's a way to go. for Morathi. With her gone now, obviously Dark Elves are going to start to have some leadership issues, and Wulfric still is just absolute Chad tank here, full on going toe-to-toe with the Scream tank. Chad tank versus the Scream tank. Let's be honest. Like, the real Chad tank would be like Volkmar or Carl riding a steam tank, but this will have to do for now. Skinwolf's also rushing in here, getting in, doing enough damage to this Bloodrack Shrine, enfeebling foe from the Shadow Famir. I love the combination of the Shadow Famir and Wulfric. It's a super strong leadership combination. You got double wind spells, double single target debuffs that you can stack on characters, or you can use the enfeebling foe on a unit while the Hunter of Champions debuffs character kind of debuffs a character. Kind of spread it around a little bit there, but yeah, Norskins end up pulling out the win there. It is still a pretty solid game. Hollow Slayer able to prevail over Fistek in a pretty narrow one, but definitely sort of I think the lowish ammunition is one of the issues of the Scourgerunner chariots. You have to be pretty cognizant of what you're using the ammunition on. You have to be very aware of where those shots are being placed. If you have a unit on fire at will and you issue an attack order, sometimes while they're approaching, they'll still shoot other nearby units. So you have to be aware of that. And then again, if you, like in this build, he didn't really have the support units to be able to go for a really dedicated kite. Like, it was kind of the kite plus box. Which, as I mentioned, Hollow Slayer could have just pulled up and engaged in melee. You know, if the Scourgerunners didn't use their ammunition and then screened out with these other mobile tools, in theory. So with this build here, like, you definitely need to have some supporting elements for these Scourgerunner chariots, some Dark Riders. Like, I would even say Knights of the Ebon Claw, pretty solid-ish pick against Norsca. I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of heavy cavalry against Norsca, with some caveats. Some factions can make it work if you can bring enough volume, or like Knights of the Blazing Sun, for example, with magic resistance and fire damage, are very good specifically here. But in general, I would say the Dark Elf Knights, Cold One Knights, and even Knights of the Ebon Claw, which are a pretty solid, underrated unit, great defense, but just lacking in numbers. You were to trade these guys out for like 3 Dark Riders with shields to support the Scourgerunner chariots and allow them to, you know, have some kind of recompense against these units if they were to chase and try and screen out. You know, you can countercharge in, try and get rid of these hounds, get rid of the Horse Masters, and then that will allow you to kind of fight on the box while the Scourgerunner chariots are targeting the priority targets that you want to be shooting, which is absolutely the mammoth here, obviously. So, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, though, about Scourgerunner chariots. Obviously, like I said, they're still a super strong unit. Very, very good, and you will see them pretty consistently, but over-relying on them can lead to some issues. So, yeah, definitely some supporting elements. Manticores are also a great kind of mobile support tool. And going with 4 Scourgerunner chariots is pretty deep as well. I don't know. You're really going to go dedicated to it. I would also say having Morathi up on Sulafet gives you some more options. A relatively cheap kit is what I would go for. Definitely, probably just Soul Stealer. And, yeah, I wouldn't even take Deadly Onslaught. Would definitely take the 2 magic items, though. And her AoE debuff as well. And then from there, we'll grab a few Dark Riders. And I guess the Scream tanks, pretty decent. But we have the mobile terror of the Feral Manticores. And if you want mobile missile terror, I guess you could take an actual Blood Rack. They are a little bit faster than the Scream tank. Actually, quite a bit faster. But honestly, the Manticores are going to be the most cost-effective way to support that. Some people might say Warlocks, but I actually think Warlocks are kind of overrated as well. I'll be talking about them eventually, but I would probably go like this, and then that still allows you to go reasonably wide on the infantry if you want to, like, bring the Hellebronai, a couple of Sad Swords, Deer Spears. I don't know, maybe something like this is a little bit better. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments, but even still, like, I feel like you're relying so much on these Scourgerunner chariots against Norsca, for example, right? Like, Knights of the Ebon Claw aren't really going to be able to kill Famir, I don't think. Like, definitely not the Miststalkers, and even Famir Great Weapons, maybe the regular Famir Warriors, but like a Mammoth as well, they're just going to lose models too quickly, really win that fight. So, You know, again, in this matchup, I don't really see that pick panning out super well, and you think about then, so if the Knights of the Ebon Claw aren't really able to kill Famirs or Mammoths, then the Scourgerunners are going to have to be the ones to do all of that, right? 4 of them, I guess, maybe you can, and Marathi can get some damage in, but she's squishy enough that fighting a Mammoth is super risky, especially without support. Like, maybe if you have some more characters in that foot blob, it's a little bit less risky, but anyway. Hopefully I've rambled on long enough about the Scourgerunners. In terms of other units, I would say it's probably one of the best chariots in the game. It might be... I don't know if I could really call it the top chariot in the game. I don't know, maybe I'll have to sit down and think about that, but probably not, given that it's, I mean, yeah, it's certainly, it's not the best missile chariot. That goes to the War Wagon. Granted, the War Wagon is useless as a chariot, and it's not the best chariot. Like, I think, honestly, the upper tier chariots, the armor-piercing chariots, stuff like Gorby's, the Lion chariot, the Razorgore chariot, those are, by and large, better than the Scourgerunners, and even, like, I would say in many situations, in melee-centric matchups, the Cold One chariots are even better than the Scourgerunners. So, like, I can't necessarily say that they're the best in class, but they are the best hybrid missile chariot, because they do a good amount of missile damage, and they also are functional as a chariot, which can't necessarily be said of War Wagons. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.